Good morning again, everyone. Be welcome to our next lecture with Vania Furtado from IBEU Rio de Janeiro. She will be talking to us about teaching in a post-pandemic world. Hope you guys enjoy it. Just remember, the link to download your certificate will be available during the lecture, so keep focused. And after the lecture ends, Vania and us, we're going to have a little surprise for you guys. So stay tuned until the end. Now, please welcome Vania Furtado.
Good morning, everyone. Isn't it amazing that we're going to have a surprise right after this talk? So stay tuned, call everybody else, and let's play ball. Well, I'm very happy to be here. I'd like to thank especially SBS for inviting me. And I have to say that I was bold enough to accept the invitation. I can already see many familiar names and faces on the comments and chats. And the whole idea is that we can sort of interact a little bit, okay? Let me start by telling you a little bit about myself, okay? So, my name is Vania Furtado. I've been in this ELT for much longer than you can even imagine. I'm a teacher, and nowadays I work with teachers, which is great, as everybody can possibly imagine and understands what I mean. I work at IBEU. IBEU is an English course in Rio de Janeiro, and we teach basically English and Portuguese for foreigners. And it's an institution that's been around for 84 years, so we are very traditional, but we are full of innovations as well. And I'm responsible for the academic department, which means that we and my team work with the courses and the teachers, from hiring to developing, training, observing lessons. So we like to say that we are in a perfect world, working with teachers, full of ideas, full of challenges, let us say. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to start by talking about some game changers. As I told you, I've been around for quite a while, and we noticed that the internet definitely has changed everything in life. Yeah, obviously, I started working before internet, as many of you, I'm sure. And the moments that we had internet available, it's changed things completely. But you know what really changed much more, in my opinion, were smartphones. Because now we had not only knowledge that you can get from internet, opinions, fake news, everything, but we also have it at your hand. Very easy to get. Obviously, these kids, these not so many kids, but these people who went to school already with internet and smartphones, they are different. They are truly a different generation. At the same time that we see these game changers, we see that education hasn't changed that much. I would say that, generally speaking, education, at least in Brazil, I see that we have people from other countries here as well, which is great, and it's thanks to internet for that. But education is still linear. It's still following the pattern of a factory. Yeah, and even our universities, teachers are prepared to roles that has changed completely, and that's a big thing that we've been worrying a lot for some years, let's say. But then suddenly we faced COVID-19. And what can I say? It is the game changer, because then we didn't have a choice. We just have to change. And the world will never be the same. I mean, I'm positive that the vaccines will work beautifully, that we'll have a change in everything, but I'm convinced that the world will never be as we experienced back in March 2020. Let me ask you one thing. What was the most difficult thing for you with this COVID-19 crisis? If you can just jot down some of your thoughts. As a teacher, what was the most difficult thing for you? Let's see if you can, I can see already a question there. And this will change in teaching, come to stay, or only the pandemic lasts. I think the change, Weber, is for good, honestly. Yeah. Samara is saying that everything turned upside down. So true. In a way that we didn't even have time to understand what was going on. Yeah. So that's very true. Adaptation, reinvented myself. That's fantastic. Reinvented myself. And it's so difficult, isn't it, Eliana, to be able to reinvent yourself. Use platforms. Look how many things already have. Dealing with parents of kids on an everyday basis, right, Isabella? Because we've always dealt with parents, but every day, every class, that was something new for us. Not meeting family and friends, sad part of it. Learning new things. And that was it. I mean, it wasn't our choice. We just had to do it. And I'm sure that, oh, sorry, I have to go back here. And I'm sure that you've seen this meme in many places or similar to this. Suddenly, it was very easy for kids to skip classes. They didn't have to run away. They didn't have to invent a story or pretend they were sick or anything. They could simply just mute and close the video. And obviously, as Alice is saying, unstable connection, they would say that. And that's true. In many cases, that was true. In other cases, it wasn't that true. And I've heard this question many times. What can I do to make my students turn their camera on? I'm sure it happened to everybody. I think that people would experience this all the time, yeah? Luisa Saraiva is saying ghosting was definitely one of the biggest problems. And I visited many classrooms last year, and it was always the same. I joined the classroom with very few exceptions, cameras off. And then I would plead the students towards the end to open their cameras, because it's very sad for the teacher to teach a lesson where you can't see anyone. I mean, we are people, we connect to people. We teachers more, maybe, I don't know, but we definitely need this contact. And it was very interesting to see that they would just stop turning their cameras on, and many would say, oh, but I look terrible today. Oh, I'm still having breakfast, or things like that. But I could imagine what it would be like to be the whole day teaching with no faces, no apparent reactions, just that. And as I said, many teachers asked us, what can we do to make our students turn their cameras on? And I think that the question was posed in not a very good way, in my opinion. Let me see what Weber is saying here. My students online said, I'm having anxiety problems because I can't understand anything. That's true. It happens a lot, yeah? And just going back to what I was saying, I think that the question about turning cameras on, I'm not saying that it's easy or anything, but I think it has to do with engagement, yeah? We need to engage students. And somebody has always, has already mentioned it. Ana Souza said, engaging students has become harder nowadays. It's true, it's true. I find that it's very difficult to engage when you have a screen between you and the people, because many language teachers, we normally work with close to the students. We get closer to the students. We do pair work. We change pairs. We do group work. And suddenly they were in breakout rooms, and you couldn't sort of hear what they're saying. But let's go back to this idea of engagement, and let's see the dictionary definition. So, engagement, the fact, one of the definitions, of course, there are others, the fact of being involved with something, I would say with someone as well. And that's the main thing. In this pandemic world, or even in a post-pandemic world, we have to be very careful about how we engage, what are the things. But as Ana Souza says, and I agree with her 100%, it's not impossible. But of course, when we talk here, let's consider sort of a perfect world. Connection is a problem, even for us, for teachers as well. Sometimes the students have good connections, but we don't. But that's the thing. If you manage to engage, everybody becomes more tolerant in my experience. Yeah. But let's move on and see what else we can do. We've sort of established the scenery, and I've already told you that things will be different. Nothing will come back to the way it used to be. And I would like to hear from you. I would like to discuss with you here this post-COVID-19 teacher. Can you think of two main features, qualities, traits that you think this teacher, we must have? Write down, jot down what you think. One or two, or more than two. From this new world, which are the characteristics, if you prefer, this teacher should have, in your opinion, of course. Let's see the comments. This teacher should have. Okay, I can see that. Empathy, definitely, Giuliani, yes. Flexibility, autonomy, open mind, focus, yes. Positivity, Michelle, yes, for sure. Flexibility, yeah, we are on the same page. I'm so glad about it. It is so true. We need tolerance, endurance, patience, open minds, connection, connected, empathy. Yeah, definitely. That's for sure. I selected two, and I think that in order to achieve all these things that you were saying, we are going to need to have digital skills and a lot of creativity. Yeah, because even when you have to be flexible to adapt and all this, you have to do it in different ways, depending on your group, depending on your students. But that's for sure. And digital skills, because I believe that even when we return full to the face-to-face lessons, the remote lessons are here to stay. Hybrid courses, they are here to stay as well. So digital skills, more than ever, they are essential. Also, I think that a teacher post-COVID-19 can and will transform passive lecture classes into active learning experiences. And here, I'd like to call your attention, because I think that's the moment that we can transform passive classes into learning experiences, active learning experiences. As I told you, I visited many classes. We observed many lessons. Some lessons fantastic. Other lessons still need improvement. But one thing that is crystal clear to me is that the students, they no longer accept passive lectures. Once a student told me, you see, Vania, if I want something passive, first he started saying, I don't need schools anymore. He said that. And I asked him why. And he said, well, if I need passive lectures, I can find anything in different levels at internet. And he's right. And I told him, yeah, but the interaction, the engagement, the exchange of opinions, you need another human being with you right there at the same time. And that's why I think active learning experiences are so important. I come from a generation that we were lectured all the time. We would sit down, listen to the teacher, and take notes. But nowadays, even our colleague who spoke before me, talking about flipped classes, it's not necessary any longer. I'm not saying that sometimes you don't have to lecture something or to talk. Here I am. I mean, I'm basically talking. I, for sure, would much prefer being in a room with you guys, but we have to take advantage of this. But I think that we have to consider these active learning experiences to our students. Yeah, and also they're saying something very interesting. Passive classes were already demotivated in the past. Precisely. Imagine nowadays perspective. Precisely. You put it beautifully. Even before the COVID, it was already considered, no, forget about it. Remember, internet, smartphones, YouTube, all this. So we had to change that. Let's move on a bit more. I came across this evolving role of the teacher that I thought was very interesting, because you possibly have been reading about the change of the teacher role, right? And I liked this idea of the evolving role of the teacher, because that's what we do. We are developing, we are evolving. And notice that the titles here: designer of powerful learning, partner in learning. And that's beautiful, because we learn from our students all the time as well. Connector and activator, community developer, and that's beautiful. And Weber is saying something that I would like to bring to you. He's asking if I agree or disagree. It's not enough to say what to do. We also have to say how to do it. And I have another question for you, Weber. How to do it, I think that it will depend on your community, on your students, on your aims. As a matter of fact, I think that the education is going to be more and more customized. I think that those recipes that we used to have back a long time ago, maybe you even you didn't experience this, they are no longer working. We work at Rio de Janeiro, which is a big city, and a different city. And we notice that sometimes what works pretty well in in a certain area of the city with our students from that area, it's not popular with the other area. So, and the teacher is the one who gets to know the students. And I think that this chart shows us very beautifully what we have to do. As a community developer, we have to bring engagement to students. Yeah, we have to engage our students. And then again, there is not one way. Yeah, and it's wonderful because there are many ways of doing things. Let's see what's next. All right, but as you guys said, it's not, it doesn't work just like that. Okay, how do I do it? I don't know if you are familiar with Dr. Carol Dweck. She is a fantastic writer. She wrote the book Mindset. If you haven't read this book, or if you haven't watched it, this TED Talk, do it today in the evening, all right, after our Encontro de Férias, because this woman is fantastic, you know, and what she says is that we have to change. And let's just remember something. Our brain wants to save energy. So our brain will normally just avoid changes, right? But if you want to do things differently, if you want to do things in a way that will change the world, will change things, we have to change as well. And in a very summarized way, what she says is, you have the fixed mindset and you have the growth mindset. And that's the whole difference there. A fixed mindset will give up easily. Other colleagues of ours, they've talked before in the previous talks, and many people talked about failing, that's going to happen. But the important thing is not to give up. The growth mindset like to try new things, and also believes that can learn to do what they want. It doesn't mean that you're going to be fantastic, but you're going to learn new things, and you're going to learn from feedback, and you keep trying. You won't give up, and you are inspired by other people's success. However, the fixed mindset will avoid challenge. It will stick to what I know. And it means that a fixed mindset person won't be vulnerable. And you have to be vulnerable. Otherwise, you're not going to take risks. And if you take risks, the chances are that you're going to fail. Yes, you are. But that's okay. Dr. Dweck always also talks about the power of yet. Yeah? Just because you are not good at something at this point, it doesn't mean that you are not going to master it. It's just not yet, but you go on. And that's a big thing, you know, and I would like to invite you guys to think about it, right? Think about it. Where are you as a teacher? Are you a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? Karina is asking about talent. You know that there is this very interesting TED Talk about grit, right? And they say, and they had this survey with talented students, and the students who were with a growth mindset, students who knew that they had to study more to get what they wanted. And the result is that talented students, they tend to have a fixed mindset because they are used to be very successful. And at one point, they are so afraid of not continuing being successful that they prefer to not to try. Yeah. So of course, talent is important, but it's been proved that if you're not that talented and if you carry on, you won't be fantastic maybe, but you do it, right? Thank you for your question. That was very, very good. So I would definitely recommend that you guys have a look at this, at Dr. Dweck, because it is really interesting and important and has to do with us. Also, Alvin Toffler had already mentioned something along those lines before, yeah? And I like it very much because he talks about learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's wonderful because it means that you are evolving, as we said right now in the comments. The fact that you've learned something, it doesn't mean that you've done with that. No, things change, people change, your perspective change. So sometimes you have to unlearn something and then relearn. I think that the COVID-19 shows us this very well. I would say that I had to unlearn most of the things I had till then to relearn. And I'm very, I have to say that I am very happy and I'm very fortunate to work with a group of not only coordinators, but teachers who helped me a lot to unlearn and relearn almost on an everyday basis. Because if I remember when we started going remotely, some schools, they were just putting everything that they had face-to-face in the remote world. And that's not possible because there are different ways of delivering things. And it's very difficult for us to unlearn and relearn. But that's the only way, the way I see it, yeah? Okay, let's move on a little bit more and see all these acronyms, because that's the thing. I love marketing. I think it's fantastic. But suddenly, whatever happens, you have all these acronyms that you just get mad about them. So before it was VUCA, and then post-VUCA, and now it's Vania. If you're not familiarized or if you don't remember, VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And Vania, which is after post-VUCA, yeah, it's brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. At the same time, we have to be agile, yeah? Things happen too fast, so we have to be fast as well. Because we are in a non-linear world, yeah? I mean, before, from my parents' era or something like that, people would join a company and would go step by step there, and we stay there for life. Even before COVID-19, that wasn't very good anymore. It was interesting to have people from different backgrounds, yeah, different experience, going to different companies. And nowadays, what people say, people who study the future of work, they say is that we are going to have sort of 2 or 3 jobs, right? Part-time jobs, of course. You cannot have 2 or 3 full-time jobs. That's impossible. But you'll be able to work with things that you like. Let me give you an example. So a teacher could be a teacher, say, afternoon and evenings. And in the morning, this teacher will work with another thing. Or this teacher loves cooking. So he or she will be teaching morning and afternoon and in the evening work in a restaurant as a sushi person or something. And it's very interesting to see that more and more we see this thing coming up. Yeah, the fact that multinationals and all these, you don't have this ladder anymore. And because of that, we have the lifelong learning, which means that you are learning forever. Yeah, and we teachers knew that already. Yeah, because we can't stop studying. We are always studying. but that's for good. And then we have this, the Great Reset from the World Economic Forum that tell us the restart. But let me tell you from this salad here what I like most. These are my favorites. The fact that we are in a society, in a world that is non-linear, okay? So it means that we are going in different ways. And lifelong learning, as I told you before. But the Great Reset, let's have a look at this word, reset. Think about your computer or your smartphone when it's not working. What do? You shut it down and then you reset it. And it starts working beautifully. That's what the World Economic Forum is saying. It's time that we reset the world and start over. So it's time that we unlearn and relearn everything. And it's beautiful, and I think it's the right way to do, because as mentioned before, there is no way that we are going back to the world we used to have. Yeah? Right. So I'd like to finish it off, and then we can have a look at your questions, comments, and everything with this quote from Dr. Mariana Mazzucato. She's an economist, and she works basically with innovation and economy in the London, University College London. And she says this: I would like to invite you to jump to 2023, okay? So 2 years ahead. And so we stand here in 2023, the same people, but in a different society. COVID-19 convinced us we could not go back to business as usual. Today, we recognize that our most valuable citizens are those who work in health and social care, education, public transport, supermarkets, and delivery services. By ending precarious work and properly funding our public institutions, we are valuing those who hold our societies together and strengthening our civic infrastructure for the crisis yet to come. I do hope that this is true, and I believe it's going to be true. So my talk is a short talk. I would like to see if you have some questions or comments. I'd like to have a look at that. But I think this is a very important message, and it's a future that it's totally possible. I like very much the way that she puts the people in health, social care, education, public transport, supermarkets, delivery services. Some of these people were just invisible before COVID-19, and they proved to be so important as everybody else. Well, that's all for me. I'd like to see if you have any questions or comments. And thank you. Remember that we are going to have a surprise towards the end of this talk, so don't go anywhere. So let me see if I can. I saw some questions before. Let's see. Okay, Karina has an interesting comment here. I thought I would be working less and enjoying life more. I was completely wrong. I've never worked as much as recently. You are not alone, Karina. I make my words yours as well. But I think that in the near future, we are going to work maybe more, I don't know, or the same way, but with things that we really like. we're not, because the last year and this year, I think it's going to be the same. It's going to be as if we were changing the tire of a car and while the car is moving, right? But I do believe that it's a mix of what you do and who you are, in a way. I know it's not for everybody, yeah? But I believe that when you like what you do very much, sort of mix up and you don't mind. But I hope that we can enjoy life more, because that's another way to be creative, isn't it? When you do things differently. Okay, what else? Let me have a look. Thank you very much, Leila. You're sweet. Okay, Isabella is asking, how do you see students in the future? In the physical school, hybrids forever? I think that's one important thing, and that's how I see things, is choice. So I believe that you're going to have face-to-face education, not massive as we used to have, but we will also have remote and hybrid. I think that the three models will live together, and I think it's for good. I don't believe that we are coming back to the face-to-face as we used to. Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay, Rosangela is saying, how challenging things are now, Vania. We have to be able to cope with the situation and willing to learn how to use new platforms. All these new tools we have been learning here. It's true, it's true. Remember what I said about the post-COVID teacher? Digital skills and creativity, yeah? So it's true. Okay, I have another question here. What do you think about the gap between the public and private education after the pandemic? I think that's one sad point, one of the sad points of the COVID-19. The difference has been much more. I mean, in Rio, we know that many kids didn't have any sort of classes at all. Whereas kids who study in private schools, good private schools, didn't interfere with them, yeah? But at the same time, I'm a very optimistic person, as you possibly notice. I think that it could be sort of a light and a way to show the public power that they have to invest in education, that's the only way you change people and you promote happiness in a way. Hope it happens. Yeah. Okay. What else? Okay. Good consideration that we are exactly how we are facing nowadays. All right. Okay. People are exchanging things. So. I will leave you my contact here. If you want to add something, ask anything, it will be a pleasure to talk to you. I'm very happy about everybody being here. Okay, Romulo is asking a question. What do you do when you have a fellow teacher who has a fixed mindset? Our fellow teacher, just one, you're very lucky, yeah? Because I think that our challenge, Romulo, is how do we change, or at least we sort of try to show these people, yeah? And there are many, and I think that there are many teachers with fixed mindsets, and but I think that the first step is to make the person conscious about it, because many times the person doesn't even realize. And that's why it's important to show. Yeah, I think if I have a dear friend, I would give Dr. Dweck's book to him or her. Yeah, because I think it's very important. But that's we find them everywhere. Yeah, even myself, many times I found myself with a fixed mindset. But the good thing about when you are aware of some things that you stop, and then you are not afraid of being vulnerable. You just go back and say, well, that's not the way it is. All right, then. I don't know if Barbara is around from SBS.
Hi, Vania.
There she is. Okay.
Oh, so we have a lot of extra time yet.
Yes.
Do you want to open it for some more questions?
Okay, if people want. I'm just worried about people leaving before the surprise, you see? But
no.
it's open for questions if people want to. Oh, Thiago mentioned something very important. To change others, first change yourself. Let them see you thrive and they'll come. Be ready to coach, not preach. Perfectly. I like this sentence, walk the talk, very much. Yeah, because sometimes you are, as you're saying, preaching, but you're doing something differently. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, and what may happen to public schools? You see, Carla, I'm not an expert on public education. I do hope that things change, and I have all reasons for that. The only reason why I went to university was because it was a public university. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to continue my studies. Yeah. So I think that education should be free and of very good quality for everybody. Basically, for kids, because as I mentioned before, that's what changed everything. Tell us more about your career. Oh my God. Okay, I will tell you very briefly. Familia Malta. All right. I started working as a teacher in an English courses, and then I worked in different English courses, and then I started working in a more managerial way as well. I liked it very much, and I started working with the commercial side. How can we tell people what we do? And that's when I took my MBA at Copiad. And then I also took an MBA, because I think that teachers, doesn't matter which way you go, you're always a teacher, so you have to know more about it. I took all the Cambridge certificates, right? I was a team leader for quite some time as well. And now I'm at IBEU, responsible for the academic departments. So in a nutshell, that's my professional life, right? Any more questions? I'm just looking here to see if there is anything else. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Many people saying that they enjoyed the talk. Thank you.
Vania?
Yes.
Do we have a last question from Isabella Campos. She's saying, you talked about lifelong learning. How familiarized do you think teachers are with this?
Excellent point, Isabella. I like to think that the teachers can be familiarized with that, but lifelong learning is, as I mentioned before, that you are always studying. And if we believe that the whole of this new teacher, this post-COVID teacher, is as an evolving teacher, you have to learn all the time. And one thing that I always recommend is that when I mean learning, it's not just in your area of expertise. Obviously, as a teacher and as a young teacher, you have to know your subject pretty well. And language is it's not static. Language changes all the time. The other day I was reading about the new words and the words that came back because the COVID-19. Yeah, and it's very interesting. And yesterday or this morning, I was reading about a new word as well, which means that when a person is taken from social media because of Trump. Yeah, so it's happening all the time. Yeah, new words are happening all the time. But besides your area of expertise, I find it very useful when you start reading about other areas, because I think that's when innovation happens, when you get an idea from another area and you can use it in your area of expertise. Okay, there is a question here. Can you talk about the methodology used in IBEU nowadays? Of course. We like our teachers to be creative. So we give the headlines, we give our principles, but the teacher is free to prepare his or her lesson according to what we believe. Obviously, we focus much more on oral, yeah, because that's what our students want. But we also prepare for exams, international exams, and all this. Okay. Any other questions?
Renata Machado is asking if you have any tips for individualized learning for teachers on how to keep kids physically active and motivated during virtual classes time.
Wow, Renata, you are good that you're at asking questions. Okay, let's break this question into two. Tips for individualized learning for teachers. Well, I think that I worked for a long time with individualized teaching, and I think that the very first thing is to know your students. Yeah, because the moment that you know what clicks with your student, what he or she likes and wants to do, it's easier for you to prepare your class, because then you have a name there. And how to keep kids physically active and motivated during virtual classes time. Okay, that's a question that has been concerning me for quite some time. Because these kids, they are with the screen time, I mean, you don't even know how much time they are facing screens nowadays. And I think that it has to do with the time that you have the kids there in order to keep him or her motivated, yeah? And the sort of activities. Of course, a kid, a child, will not be as patient as we are to be here sitting down for almost 50 minutes, right? So obviously you have to have some active activities that are active, like asking the students to pick up something and ask the student to go and fetch something else, this kind of stuff. But then again, it depends on your group. It depends on how many students you have. It depends on what you want to achieve. Yeah. Vanessa is saying something quite important as well. It's interesting to see how things changed, because cell phones weren't even allowed to be used in the class. But mind you, some schools, they don't allow cell phones. Yeah. All of a sudden, it became the only way many students can now participate in class. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Do you use the communicative approach? Is it suitable for your current, for our current context? Yes, Erica. We use that as well, and I think it's suitable. I think that at the end of the day, what everybody wants is to communicate, and it should be our main aim, from my point of view.
Yeah. Thanks, Vania. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Can we go to our surprise now?
Oh, yes, please. Yes.
So I'm gonna ask you to ask our audience a question about your lecture. And the first one who answers correctly on the chat and it is and this first person is subscribed to the event on our subscription list. We were sending us during this last weeks, gets 1 year of breast tissue association for free.
Wow!
Yeah, it's the last free year association we have. So this is our last chance to get it. So Vania, you could ask them a question, and the first one who answers correctly, we are going to check if he or she is subscribed to the event, and then we'll let them know that they won.
Okay, all right. Can I ask now? Whenever you tell me, I can ask the question. Okay.
Yeah.
I mentioned 2 characteristics of the post-COVID-19 teacher. Do you remember which they were? They have to write down, right, Barbara?
Yes. Please write it down.
Okay, there we are.
Well, we have some. Wow, my God! We have a lot of answers here. You asked them to tell 2, right?
Yes, right.
Okay. Yes. So the first person, I'm showing her comment right now.
Yes.
I'm going to check if she's the real winner. Okay, the first one who wrote 2 characteristics. I'm going to check her.
Okay, fingers crossed, Rosa. Let's do that. No.
Just to end the tension, Husband is the real winner. She was the first one to write 2 characteristics, and she is subscribed to our event. So we're going to contact you, Rosa, through email, so you can send us the data. So actually, we're going to send already the voucher. We already have it here, so we are already going to send you. Okay. And thanks a lot for joining us. And we have another surprise. Wow. 2 surprises for you guys today. On our Instagram, we are going to give away. Oh, let me just hide her comment. 9 books from Hub, Hub Editorial, with 9 readers' books for English teachers. So what do you guys have to do? We're going to post it in a few minutes on our Instagram account. You gotta find today's post about this giveaway, and then you have to share it on your Instagram stories and tag at Livraria Internacional SBS until 2 p.m. Okay, you have just 2 hours to do that, because we're going to announce the winner on Ricardo Barros Live that starts at 2 p.m. Okay, you have 2 hours only. So we're going to post it on our Instagram, and you can start sharing. Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you, Vania. Thank you, Rosa. Congratulations on your prize. And hope to see you guys soon, okay? Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you very much. And remember that we have amazing talks this afternoon. It's the last day, so you can't miss them. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot, everybody. And bye-bye. Hope to see you guys soon.
See you.